Good morning. I am April Chadwick,
Good morning, I am Diane Gertis.
and we are with the Mortgage Advantage. Happy September. Woohoo!
Yes, happy September. And if I could do a shout out, anybody who's got a few extra bucks to give to the Red Cross or to help everyone that is in New Orleans, in Louisiana, in the areas that have been affected by the hurricane, of just they are in great need, as you know, of water, food, anything. So anything that we can think of to help them, please assist.
Absolutely. Our as we will donate, but also our thoughts are going out to them and that whole tragic situation.
Yeah. Well, it could have been a lot worse, but
Absolutely.
right now they're just trying to maintain. Can you imagine living in Phoenix without air conditioning or without having fresh water?
Hey, I can because I didn't have air conditioning last weekend.
Yeah, her landlord said air conditioning is not, what did they put the letter that they sent to you?
It is not an emergency. So yeah, well, property management, but just it's losing your air conditioning in Arizona is not an emergency. You should fill your tub with ice and water, do things like that. So, but no, but I know that they're not going to have water or electricity for who knows how long.
Down their gas. So anything that we can do to help would be a small thing. You never know what's going to happen to us. So we should make, just saying, just
look at New York.
I know. Wow.
I mean, did you see, sorry, but I was talking to an agent about this today, but did you see the footage of the rats?
Oh yeah, they're swimming around.
It's like Ratatouille. Dun, 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 and they're just swimming, and it's so gross, but funny.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is nice.
So a lot of, and we've had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Arizona's had insane amount of rain. So it's just been a crazy couple of months. So today, I was thinking about the past few ones of these we've done, we've gone over either loan process, what to expect. And every time, Diane, you go over AUS or automated underwriting system. So I figured today we can do a what the heck is automated underwriting system and why do we need it? And what is it? So I will leave it to you.
Well, I'd like to divide it into two different areas. One is conventional loans, which is loan amounts right now in Arizona, $548,250. Don't know why they have the 250, but oh well. And this is an amount every year they adjust in December for the loan amounts for conventional mortgages. Conventional mortgages, 548,250, you go into jumbo money, which is a completely different set of circumstances as far as underwriting. But I want to talk about the automated underwriting system. The reason for that, as I think you were with me, a realtor called me and she's going to make an offer on a home. And she said, well, I was told by another lender or another person or Uncle Bob down the street that they didn't need an appraisal, that the lender waived the appraisal. Well, first and foremost, the lender does not waive the appraisal. The automated underwriting system does. What is the automated underwriting system? The automated underwriting system for conventional loans is through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. What is Fannie Mae? What is Freddie Mac? Well, I will give you their history. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you, Fannie Mae was developed in 1934 and Freddie Mac in 1964, and both to encourage home ownership. In today's world, they've had a couple of changes, but we're talking about 2021. Neither Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, they do not originate loans, nor do they service loans. They are called government-sponsored enterprises. So you've heard about guidelines. Well, that doesn't meet underwriting guidelines. Those guidelines are set forth by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. When our company originates a loan, it's originated, then we follow their guidelines. Then we sell it to either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and I'll go over a few little differences in a moment. Fannie and Freddie then give back the money to the bank. So they, they sell it. You have a $400,000 loan. I'm just going to make it easy because there's a lot more going into it, and there's a lot of chipping and slicing there as far as monies. And they'll give you 400,000. So therefore, the banks all have more money to lend. So Fannie and Freddie are the ones that give the money, and then they turn around and they package up those loans and sell them to hedge funds, pension funds, other investors. And that's how this kind of, and I'm oversimplifying it by someone's going to probably write me and say, that's not right. Well, I am cutting a couple of corners, but believe me, your eyes would start to bleed, or go watch The Big Short. That'll kind of give you a better idea of what happened in the mid 2000s. So anyway,
we could say Reader's Digest version, but I don't think anyone under 30 even knows
what that is. So anyway, trying to give you an idea that Fannie, Freddie, in other words, if our loans do not meet, and I'm just talking about conventional loans, not FHA and not VA, and they also have automated underwriting that has to be done, but FHA and VA, we can do manual underwrites on those. If we can't get it approved for whatever reasons, they will allow that. But going back to the conventional loans, I don't know of a lender, and I'm not saying there's not one out there that will allow a manual underwritten. It has to be approved through the automated underwriting system. It has to meet those guidelines. If the loan does not, then what happens is Fannie or Freddie, whoever you decided who is going to purchase the loan, will say, nope, you did not follow this guideline. You get to keep the loan. That's your loan. You get to keep that $548,000. And so that's when it starts to hurt. So that's why people talk about guidelines. And all banks need the money to be able to fund more loans. So it's imperative that those guidelines are followed. So as a lender, what we do is once we get a pre-qualification, or depending on the loan itself, and I want to go over a specific situation that happened to me in May. Had a pre-qualification, ran it through automated, those ratios were a little higher, so we ran it through. This was the first part of May, got an approval through Fannie. Fannie tweaked their guidelines in June. This happens from time to time. We don't get advance warning. We don't say, danger, danger, all this is going to change, or some of it's going to change, or this is what it's going to change. And we may not even know what changes. At least from my point, we may not know. But in June, we did know that they were tweaking it. So come to 2 weeks ago, this particular client pops back up, makes an offer. I send over the pre-qual, but I didn't run it through. And in my defense, a lot of times I can run it. If I know Fannie's going to take it, almost 99% of the time, Freddie's going to take it. And Freddie is a little bit more lenient than Fannie is. This is what we have found through the years, sometimes. But I didn't run it back through. That was my mistake. My mistake that I didn't run it back through. So we went under contract. We ran it through, could not get an approval. Ratios were too high, although they weren't that high, and just a series of things. But part of it is her credit had some issues with a lot of disputes. Disputed, not disputed, disputed again. And why is this an issue? Because when there is a dispute on a credit report, it takes that credit line or credit card or creditor out of the scoring module. So that's why I'm saying that, because I'll find Fannie didn't take it. Yeah, they got tweaked. We'll just send it to Freddie. Freddie wouldn't take it because there were 4 disputes that had been disputed many times, and they would not take it because of the number of disputes. So we had to go back through and get all the disputes removed. And my poor client, it wasn't her fault. It was well, anyway, it wasn't her fault, but her attorney probably didn't give her the advice that she should have gotten. But anyway, got them removed. We did get it approved through Automated, and we were able to move forward with the transaction. But a little bit of drama there that probably didn't need to happen if I had run it through again when we got the contract. But we did get it approved through Freddie. But again, we had to get the Freddie will not allow disputes. Fannie will. So these are one of those little quirky things, whereas Freddie will allow higher ratios from time to time and lesser reviews. Fannie will not. So, but all loans have to be approved through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, or they cannot move any further to underwritten approval. So that is why we talk about and we don't set the guidelines. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac set the guidelines. If you're self-employed, when you run it through the automated system. I'm sorry, well, did you have a question? I'm just rambling on.
That's okay. I was just gonna let you. But I think we've kind of gone this way and this way. I wanted to ask you, what are the reasons that you would use Freddie Mac, and what are the reasons that you would use Fannie Mae?
I would always use
Freddie. You said Freddie's a little bit more lenient. So do you use Freddie more often? This is for like the layman.
No, not necessarily. If we can't get it through Fannie, then we'll run it through Freddie. Sometimes we'll find that on self-employed, Fannie may sometimes ask for 2 years tax returns. Freddie sometimes only asks for 1 year of tax returns. So those are one of the reasons. Or the one going back to the original scenario about the appraisal, sometimes Fannie will ask for an appraisal, Freddie will not. So we will run it through Freddie if we don't want it to have to stress over getting the appraisal order. It's not so much about the value now, it's just sometimes the timelines are taking a little longer.
So, and then are there some banks that only do Fannie or only do Freddie?
Correct, there are. You find more of the larger banks only doing Fannie, and some of the smaller banks and credit unions using Freddie.
Perfect.
But they both.
Sometimes if you have a bank that you use, like we know, all lenders, you have a bank that you use. But if you have a client that you can't get approved through Fannie, sometimes you have to run it through Freddie, which means they have to go through a whole nother different bank.
No, not necessarily. Like our bank, we can use, some banks will use both. We can both. Yeah, no. A lot of banks will let you let you run it through both. They don't care. They're going to sell those loans, follow those guidelines. But we have to have the AUS guide, the automated, I call it the National Underwriting System, because basically that's what it is. It's throughout the United States. It's not Diane specific, like a lot of people may think. But the other is student loans. For instance, some of my doctors, my NPs, they may have student loans. And I have one client that has student loans almost $350,000. Yikes. So on Fannie, they require you to use 10%. And I'll come back to this other in a minute, 10%. Whereas Freddie is 10% of the amount, 1% of the amount, not 10%. Oh my God, 1% of the amount, whereas Freddie is only half. Oh. So that can make a big difference if you have a $200,000 student loan of $2,000 or $1,000 that we can put in the ratios. But also, that's if there is no payment noted. If they have a payment noted on the credit report, Fannie and Freddie will use it, even if it's $1. But if it's zero on there, like so many of them are now, due to the pandemic, and a lot of them have been on forbearance, they're not having to make any payments, and it just shows zero payment, then what we would do is we would have to determine which would work best, the Fannie at the full amount or Freddie, especially on those huge student loans, like some clients that have, that's a lot of times why we would use them.
Perfect. Yay.
Now, FHA and VA, we also are required to run it through the automated system first. If we can't get approval, we can turn around and do a manual underwrite. But just keep in mind, on a manual underwrite for FHA and VA, those ratios drop way down, way down. So just to let you know.
Perfect. And then just a question on that too, just to recap, like especially right now, and in Arizona and everywhere, and especially one of my friends, perfect example, she had her offer accepted last night. And she goes, oh, they're waiving the appraisal. I'm like, well, wait a minute. it's not necessarily, when it reads it on the contract, that doesn't mean that the buyer itself is waiving the appraisal. But also when we talk about that, like some people go, oh, my lender says I don't need an appraisal. That's only, the lender can only do that when AUS says that, correct?
Correct. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. I've had, I said, well, he's putting, for instance, we had another fun fact. Let me go to that in just a minute, but we've had clients that are buying $600,000 home, 800 credit score, putting 300,000 down. They're still requiring, the AUS still requires an appraisal. We have others that have a 680 credit score, putting 20% down, not requiring an appraisal. Did I say credit score? An appraisal. So that's I tell my clients that comps for some areas are already baked in. So if they see that the common sale, it's not uncommon to have a sales price of 700,000 or appraisals 700,000, and you're putting 20. Well, you're doing below 548. That may be fine. So I got the feeling that when I was talking to this realtor, she didn't believe me. She, well, the lender said he waived it. You can't. Oh, I bless you, my child. Got an appraisal. That's not how this works. So,
Darn it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Darn it, Jen. The other is that if, for instance, you had a purchase fall out, they did the appraisal, and at the last minute, I just had this happen on in the lakes in Tempe, where the client went all the way to closing and it didn't go through, did the appraisal, everything. And they called me to see if I could do a quick close. They had a backup offer on it. So again, he was putting 300,000 down on a $600,000 home, but we had to have an appraisal. And you're thinking, in the lakes, you need an appraisal?
Yeah.
Well, but an appraisal had been done, and it was noted in the automated system. So if an appraisal has been done, and if you're gonna well, what timeline is that? I can't answer that. I think it's 120 days that's going to be kept baked into that AUS system for that property address. And if there has been an appraisal done, your appraisal is going to be required. So that, and I've had that happen twice now, that appraisals have been done recently, and they're requiring, and the AUS is requiring an appraisal.
Well, good to know. And good to know that's a great tidbit for realtors out there. If you have a listing or a buyer and you know that there was an offer on that before, or it was sale pending and then it fell out and an appraisal was done, that's something that you may want to, at least you are aware that is something that could pop up.
Yeah. And for if appraisal doesn't, they're going to accept, as long as the new appraisal makes sense, they're going to accept it. Mm-hmm. So for instance, if it fell out because of a low appraisal and they're just adamant that this house is worth that, whatever the sales price is, doesn't mean that they're not going to accept it. It's just in there saying, warning, appraisal has been done, need another appraisal. And keep in mind too, VAs and FHAs, when an appraisal is done on those properties, those are also kept in the system for 120 days. That's always been the case though, for FHAs and VA.
Perfect. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and
Labor Day.
Yes, I know it's Labor Day. It's hard to believe. It just seemed like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that information, because just to go back, we've had some feedback, and I mean, well, believe it or not, people are watching this, maybe one or two, but we thank you. We really do thank you. I mean, we appreciate the support.
We appreciate you so much.
But I know that these have a lot of information, but it's so much information that people don't have available or readily available. And it really helps in the process. So thank you for spending the time to explain those things.
Oh, my pleasure. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to call me. My number is 480-235-5667, 480-235-5667, and call me anytime. I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Woohoo! And you can call me anytime. I'm April Chadwick. My phone number is 740-5319. You can also follow us at TMA Corner on Instagram. And once again, hey, for those 2 people watching us, thanks. We appreciate it. Have a great Labor Day.
Yes, everyone. Take care.
Bye.